All caught up now? Good. After swapping left in our mountain mommy monster, we find a maroon mercantile madam morose over her misplaced merch. Okay, I'll stop. Tina's her name and capitalism's her game. She's in charge of the trading post at camp. She also gives us some insect repellent on the house, which we'll need for progression. Thanks. Taro has some choice words for our latest compatriot, and having sacrificed enough fish to our patron god Shubil, I was bequeathed another gear slot for my piousness. Praise be the mighty bird. Found a boy named Regia and a living eggplant-looking creature called a Pickard. While we are on the topic of castaways, we find another who is actually useful. Housewife and supermom Meralda. She makes special cocktails that heal and clear food buffs, allowing the party to eat again immediately. Well, the time has come to discuss the unforeseen windfall of the challenge run. Night missions. Night missions are essentially hard mode versions of previous dungeons, featuring new items and enemies alike. Chests and shortcuts reset or something after the sun goes down. It's really weird. Truth be told, I was quite nervous going into this night mission. All I remembered from my initial playthrough was that there were hordes of lethargic monstrosities ready to turn Adol the Red to Adol is Red. Maybe the Nocturnal Lord would have been a late game boss if you fought it at night. Night missions presented me with two invaluable resources, one being a steady supply of revival items, removing some of the pressure of needing to save them till the very last moment. The second being this baller-ass night music. I mean, seriously, you can't tell me I have to sneak past the beast lying down when the beat makes me want to get down. Almost scores a multi-kill Twitch highlight, and we find this giant crustacean demonstrating its understanding of Sisyphus and determinism. The former represents the futility of its efforts, the latter, its inability to stop. Let us free the beast from its Stygian enlightenment. With the night mission a success, we gain access to a somewhat steady supply of revival items, giving us a little extra leeway in boss fights and other tough encounters. A little ways away, we put the powdered lean Tina gave us to good use, lowering the property value of the Giant's Hornet's estate, forcing them to relocate. To hell. We set up camp, Papyrus Erectus. I hope we stop getting more of these scenes before I run out of different ways of saying the same thing. We find a cop who's our resident crafter, named Zeron. Hummel's no snitch, but respects his work ethic. Dark Souls pro tags are rolling in their graves at Adol's ability to simply jump over the slowing swamps, and slow you it does. Pharaoh informs us of yet another cookout with Homo sapiens as the entree. I wonder what that is. Sounds fancy. I like to get a good workout in to stir the old appetite. So let's go a few rounds in the ring with the Great Deku Tree, Magamandra, Demon Tree of the Hidden Jungle. Good old trees, the tall, stout embodiment of Mother Nature's beauty, and let me tell you, it definitely feels like I'm fighting the full force of Mother Nature. Not in the immense proclivity to try and bend the natural world to our whims kind of way, but in the a tornado passes through your neighborhood and decides to take your car, and only your car, and deposit it into your bedroom kind of way. In all seriousness though, this boss presented a lot of interesting quirks. First of all, the boss is stationary, which means I at the very least don't have to worry about bad positioning relative to the boss. This also means that the boss is more likely to bury you under a barrage of different attacks. Secondly, the boss is only vulnerable when these bulbs at its base are exposed. Arbitrary intangibility, a mechanic that I have a pretty sour relationship with. I wouldn't go so far as to say that it's bad, I just can't get behind it. Nevertheless, the Magamandra has some pretty simple and telegraphed attacks that are fairly easy to avoid. It's a very what you see is what you get kind of boss, which I have no qualms against, lacking even a phase 2 or HP threshold for new moves. The usual hit and run with Adol works a majority of the time, and I can seamlessly weave in and out of attacks with little trouble. There is a technical amendment to the no HP threshold statement, and while the boss not getting any new moves is true, Magamandra does decrease the hang time between attack rotations, meaning that the formerly meager attacks are starting to overlap, turning this exercise in hedge trimming into a botanical gauntlet. Branches, bolts, and bombs all start to blend together into a maelstrom of pollinated oppression. Things got quite a bit faster, of that there is no doubt. I had to be much more deliberate with my offense, which did mean missing some tangible bulbs a time or two, but it couldn't be helped. That's pretty much all there is to this one though. No need to drastically change my approach, nor was I hit with any surprise attacks. Swamp mid-boss just got uprooted. Our botanical manslaughter is rewarded with hover boots, specifically for bogs and swamps. It's one of the more niche adventure gadgets and sees little use out of its dungeon, just like another set of eclectic Air Jordans. I take a quick break back at camp to check on the new guy, and yep, he's roaming alright. In other news, only Circumference would have a side quest that ends in him nearly getting jumped by the other villagers. He, however, got off easy, unlike me, who has to tend to the rowdy neighbors upstairs. Mountain raids are the beginning of the end in terms of what you can expect from enemy encounters going forward. Lots of big enemies with big health pools, big hitboxes, and even bigger damage. That is to say nothing of their super armor. Monsters flinching is about to become a thing of the past, as the game probably expects you to have a decent handle of flash by this point. The Isle of Seiren must have gotten some new management as well, because this batty fellow got demoted to an elite enemy, but he wasn't any more imposing than he was the first time around. Making our way back to the swamp, we immediately encounter the second boss of the zone, Laspius, the beast beneath the bog. On a side note, designs like this are really what making monsters from common animals is all about. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. A giant hippo with wings, fins, a back that's covered in vegetation and boluses that will forever look like egg yolk on spinach to me. Either that or I'm just hungry. Shiabet Hippo's design aside, there really isn't much to say concerning its moves. You've got your standard fare of fights, stomps, and the like. You even get more homing projectiles, free of charge. He can even charge your Tesla with a few of his lightning bolts. All in all, it's nothing the Dark Souls school of running to the right and attacking doesn't solve. A few attempts later, the bog hog gets swamped. On the shore, we find a timid doctor by the name of Lick, who was hiding from Iran because he was scary. I don't condone prejudice, but hiding from the feds is always okay in my book. Wait a minute. Two unrelated people of the same profession in my anime Jumanji? Suspicious. Almost as much as the captain getting shanked by another person. So yeah, there's a murderer on the island, perhaps in our very midst. But who? It could be anyone. It's Kiergaard. He's the serial killer Aaron has been pursuing. Honestly, I'd love to go into more detail about how Kiergaard put his stethoscope in his mouth, and about how Michelin Man offed himself. But this is a challenge run, so an accurate Sparknose will have to suffice. Heathcliff dies of a paper cut trying to save a little girl, and the not-so-black swordsman goes to confront his killer. And after some copy-pasta about society and the necessity of evil, it's time to begin what is considered the hardest fight in the game, Kiergaard Weissman, the Nameless Ripper. In a world of monsters, dragons, demons, and gods, always fear human bosses. While I don't speak for everyone, this truth has been self-evident to my brother and I for pretty much as long as we've been playing RPG, be it Date Masamune from Nioh or Sister Friede from Dark Souls 3. This case is no different. Kiergaard is ruthless. Sidestepping right to win isn't really going to work this time around. Many of his attacks hit in a wide area, so circling him isn't safe. Hit and run might seem like a better approach, but between the wire mines and death limbo, excessive movement is also likely to result in my death. I can't stand still either because of his forward wire blast. He's lethal from any range, any altitude, and his attacks inflict bleed. It's easy to see why Hummel dipped before the fight. I wasn't going to find some exploit for this one. To win, I would have to know this fight inside and out. I had to become the Nameless Ripper. And to be fair, I felt like becoming a real serial killer after enough attempts of this fight, mostly because the better runs were squandered by ill-fated dodges that resulted in immediate restarts. I know I don't show a lot of the flashes, but believe me when I say they happen a lot. In this fight and others. Getting back to the Floss God. After extensive trial and error, I noticed that he does have some vulnerabilities. Him being human makes him susceptible to being launched. That being said, launching him is quite inconsistent, but it's one of the few instances of guaranteed safe damage, so it's definitely worth keeping an eye out for. This close-range AoE is also safe to punish. Jumping, rising, wire attack is also safe if you are close enough when he uses them. The stationary wires suck, and I tend to wait them out rather than risk unnecessary damage. His basic swipe is generally safe enough for a single running slash to generate some gauge, but I'm too greedy for my own good and will often try to get in extra hits. The landmines in practice weren't that big of a problem, and they will disappear after a little while. Kiergaard gets one new attack at the halfway point when he creates these wires that sometimes track, sometimes erupt all at once, and sometimes forgets it's supposed to attack me. All in all, it doesn't really change the dynamic of the fight. I've had runs so close, I was willing to use every revival item I had out of desperation, but would end up choking at the 11th hour. These were the attempts that drained my sanity, but in its place, filled it with something far more valuable. Hope. Hope that this wouldn't be the end of the run, the end of my first real attempt at content creation. Hope that my inane ideas had merit to them. So, with open heart and experience in hand, I rip apart one of the biggest obstacles in our journey. I have no time to celebrate my victory, as Kiergaard tells Adol how they'll have to continue this fight later, undoubtedly with more wire attacks and a full second phase. Better start recouping my used heals and... oh, I guess not. We won't be seeing him again. Good riddance. Whoa, this looks different. Temple of the Great Tree. Who the hell are these people? Well, guess we're playing as Donna now. Truth be told, I hadn't really thought of all the finer details of this challenge when I started, and had completely forgotten these Donna-only sections were mandatory, which is a bit of a problem. You see, while Donna sections aren't particularly long, they do have some bosses I must overcome, and without any valuable party members to ferry Donna's mangled corpse during tough encounters, essentially turns this into a soft no-hit run, as I won't be able to revive her. Thankfully, this first session was just an appetizer, as there were no bosses to sate my appetite for masochism. Back to the topic at hand, Donna is undergoing the trial to become the Tree Maiden. Plants check off sapling, has a Vietnam flash forward, and we return to our beloved Kool-Aid colored killing machine. Quina, the gremlin in human skin that Barbados saved, has awoken, and we unlock the gift and workshop features. Give gifts for approval, and Aeron Shop is just a manlier flavor of Allison's. Adol and friends have a team pep talk and prepare to set out again. The captain may be gone, but the goal remains the same. Get everyone off the island, without flashing, of course. Our journey now takes us up north to the mountain at the center of the island. Making our way to the base of Mount Gendarm, we find that the previously uncrossable chasm now has a bridge made of roots we can cross. Wasn't here before, but far be it from me to look a gift horse in the mouth. Loxia sees some big trees and a bird and won't shut up about Darwinism. Next, she'll tell me the world isn't flat. Wait, what? Past the questionably shaped entrance, you'll see the usual assortment of primordial pests as we continue along our Jurassic obstacle course. We break and enter into someone's cabin for a brief respite before continuing our ascent. Sometime later, we find a cave we must enter to resume our journey. And inside, we find no other than our criminal-crunching connoisseur, Avodragil, the ferocious intruder. Yeah, the fight isn't all that different from the first one. There's really not much of interest to comment on this time around. If it had augmented or new moves, I didn't notice. Avodragil goes down with little fanfare. I did lose the hod though. Sorry buddy. No EXP for you this time. Despite this being one of the easier fights to date, the party is ironically unsuccessful in felling the beast. We are saved, however, by a girl in her orange creamsicles. Rakot is a native of the island, but more importantly, he's a new party member, the second batch character to fill out our repertoire. Apparently, the dart she used to repel Clifford were a metal long thought to be a myth, or a calc. Oh, and it was her house we broke into. Anyway, we must scour the island and search for more of the primal pummeling pebbles. And during our search, we find Austin, a noble who's the medieval equivalent of a liberal arts major whose aspiration in life is to be a SoundCloud rapper. Like most nobles, he wears his britches a little too tightly, but he helps out at camp, so he's cool in my book. Further along the path, we come across a cavern with... Holy Jesus, look at the size of that skeleton! Oh, the Ori Calcum we need is here as well, I guess. Back at camp, Kathleen tells us that the ore is lazy and doesn't want to be forged, so Dogi and Aaron decide to commit some casual genocide in the marshes to show it we mean business. This brings us to our first hunt mission, similar to raids, but we're on the offense. The objective is quite simple: light torches to debuff enemies and murder, preferably without being murdered yourself. With this business sorted, our ore friend is suddenly more sympathetic to our cause. Bereft of other distractions, we can resume our... What now, Dogi? Well, looks like our big red friend wants to have the final run back. Fine by me. The third and final fight with Owl Dragale should have been a battle for the ages, but I'm going to be honest with you all. I completely sauced him. He's an early boss that just didn't keep up with the mid-game curve, and it shows. The game even crashed on the results screen and I had to run it back, but it doesn't matter. I'll fight you as many times as I have to. The results will never change. That being said, please stop crashing. I don't want to keep doing. With nothing else left that needs doing, we can finish our ascent of Gendar. Now that we stand at its apex, we can clearly see everywhere we've been and where we have left to explore. Yep, that's some late game looking stuff. Without further ado, let's greet our nemesis, ancient conqueror of the heavens, Gaius Burn.
We made a choice, go fight against your fate. Pain will come with the blade. Pain will wake up the despondent crowding, storming worlds on high.
The first thing you probably noticed about this fight is probably the arena. The linear S-shape makes you believe that there isn't any room for maneuverability, right? Well, I thought that too, initially. In fact, there are quite a number of things that I was certain was going to prove problematic, from the size of the arena to this being the first boss with 3 health bars. Hell, there's this fire attack that requires you to flash because it boxes you in with invisible walls. For all intents and purposes, the cards should have been stacked against me. I remember Gaius Burn being some badass mid-game skill check, but its attacks are so linear. They can all be dodged by jumping and running. Honestly, I'm disappointed, Gaius Burn. Maybe I've just cracked the code of this no flashing thing. Now, don't let me telling you this mean that I first tried this or anything, because I didn't. But expectations were pleasantly grimmer than reality. Gaius Burn got hella spurned. Hey everyone, thanks for watching till the end. I know it's been quite a while since my last upload, but I'm back and resolved to upload on a more consistent basis. I'm currently shooting for 1 video a month. That's all I've got for now. Remember to stay safe, suave, and sound. I'm the Spell Sword Sage Zavi, and I'll be seeing you